26. And we will begin to a call to order, but right off the bat here, we're going to administer an oath of office to Misty Bayless.
All right, Misty, if you would please stand, raise your right hand, and read that oath of office in front of you.
I, Misty Bayless, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the United States of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of the Public Utilities Commission of the City of Brainerd, Minnesota, to the best of my judgment, ability, so help me God.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Welcome aboard.
Amen.
Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll then move on to roll call.
Bayless.
Here.
Here.
Higgins.
Here.
Jay.
Here.
Wasso.
Here.
Anglin.
Here. All right, we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to amend the minutes. The spelling typo in there under the public hearing of Congressman Stauber's name needs to be corrected.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilman Chezog.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, were we going to add the surplus auction items to the consent agenda?
That is correct. So we will include the surplus auction item approval to consent to calendar, and everybody does have a copy of that.
I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Notice to public, all matters listed are considered routine by the commission and will all be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time of the commission votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that's why I should have made my request to amend the minutes, but I think it's noted.
Yep, understood. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. So what we'll do here is what's called roll call. So then all commission members will answer yes as a way that we approve this. So can we please proceed with that?
Bayless.
Yes.
Higgins.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Wasso.
Yes.
Anglin.
Yes. All right, thank you. Commissioner Bayless, so the first three meetings I answered here for that when we did roll call. So I couldn't figure out yes or here. So anyway, you're doing great so far, in my opinion. All right, so we will move on to public forum. And this is a time that's allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the commission, and time limits may be imposed. All right, is there anybody here for a public forum? Yes, please come forward. And if you could state your name and your address, we would appreciate that.
Well, I'm John Forrest, and I live at 159 Pineview Drive in Brainerd. And I have been in the Lakes area for almost 50 years now. And I've been on Pineview Drive for about 37 years. So I need to get something off my chest. And that, I think BPU does a wonderful job. So I thought someone should say that, and I'm here to say that. And every time I go to the wall, toss the switch, it works. When we've had a few storms, BPU is right on the wall, and electricity is restored. And so I thought I'd just say that, hopefully to grab your attention, because there's one other item I'd like to bring up. I have been involved with the Brainerd, I guess I was president of Brainerd Savings and Loan for about 35 years, and been with Brainerd Rotary and Brainerd Riverfront Committee. a lot of the focus has been on the riverfront. And I'm the one that took the idea to the Brainerd board to establish a park in the south part of Brainerd. And I'm the one that engineered acquisition of 9 additional parcels of land, which brings the park up to about 195 acres, which I don't know if you know, but it's one of the largest municipal parks in the state of Minnesota. I also started with the Riverfront Visioning Committee, which is a citizens committee, looking at the riverfront, and their results ended with the construction of what is now known as the Lyman White Park. I love the river. I love parks. But I've also thought parks are an engine of economic development. And if you have someone visiting Brainerd or someone thinking of relocating to Brainerd, one of the things they're going to look at is parks. And the riverfront was an overlooked opportunity. So working with Rotarians and working with the Riverfront Visioning Committee, we've been able to make some changes. Now, that being said, if someone's looking at Brainerd to relocate, and typically it's going to be young families because of the housing in Brainerd, and it's a starting home for a good part. But they're the people that we want to attract because they're going to be the incubators of business. And from that will come jobs and economic development. That being said, so we want to have an attractive park system to attract these people to come to Brainerd. When you look at a community, you form first impressions. And one of the first impressions when people come to Brainerd is the amount of overhead power. And it's not bad. BPU has done really a pretty good job of putting power in the ground. I don't know if you get your insurance bills, but you've probably been noticing your insurance bills have been increasing quite dramatically. And that's because of the loss experience of insurance companies and generally related to storm damage. Corey, you probably know all about that. So if you believe, as I do, in global warming, we're going to see an increased incidence and increased severity of storm damages. So if you think putting power in the ground is expensive, it's going to be expensive not to have it in the ground. I would like to challenge BPU. Maybe you already have this and I don't know, but to come up with a plan to address all the overhead power existing in the city of Brainerd and to take a look about the opportunity there is for putting it in the ground. West Brainerd has quite a bit of overhead power yet. There are certain sections of Brainerd that you have overhead power. I realize transmission lines are very, very difficult. I realize there's a bias by BPU. They like to be able to see the power up there, and it's easier perhaps to fix when it's something they can see. But at the same time, I would like to challenge BPU to come out with a plan and a scope and to start looking at budgeting. And let's say this is a 10-year plan. Let's identify what power we can put in the ground in the next 10 years, and let's see what we can do and get her done. I think a real good place to start would be West Brainerd. And as you're all aware, the Highway 210 is going to have a major revamp starting April. And it's going to be a 2-year project starting east, moving west. There's a lot of power that crosses 210 yet. And you look down that business corridor and that power crossing 210 is really, it's ugly. I've been blessed with having a lot of travel. I've gone to some very nice areas. I've gone to some very distressed old areas, some very declining cities. A lot of those declining cities, you see the power above. Now, that doesn't mean that's why they're declining, but it just, you don't have a modern progressive city without living up to the standards. And that's also what people coming into Brainerd want to see. They want to see a nice appearing city. They want to have nice parks. And I believe they want to see power on the ground. So those are my thoughts. I thought I'd just share them. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's great to hear, and I think it's certainly something that we can put on the docket for our Finance and Operations Committee, maybe just to potentially talk about the feasibility of that, certainly speaking with Trent on that topic. So thank you, Mr. Forrest, for sharing your thoughts. Appreciate it.
And thanks for your commitment to the community, John.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, is anybody else here for public forum? Is anybody online? No? Okay. All right, with that, we'll close public forum, and then we'll move on to commission committee reports. And first off, we have a personnel committee, and I think I'll just start things off here where, again, very excited to have Commissioner Bayless on the team. And I would like to make the recommendation that Commissioner Bayless, if you would be willing to be part of the personnel committee, that would be a great addition. Currently, right now, Commissioner Wilso and myself are on that personnel committee, but ideally, it's nice to have two commission members on that committee, and then I, as the president of the commission, serve kind of more to fill in as needed. So if you would be willing to participate in that, it would consist of potentially maybe a meeting, one meeting a month or so outside of this commission meeting. So from a time commitment standpoint, I would say on average, Commissioner Wilso, if you would agree with that.
I would.
So if you would be willing to be a part of that, okay, that would be wonderful. So thank you for doing that.
You need a motion?
No.
Nope. Okay.
No, we're good there. Okay, having said that, so thank you for that. Anything that we need to report on from a personnel
No, apparently
standpoint?
staff was too busy with the finance committee this last month. He didn't have a reason to.
I
make
do
this
feel
last
slighted as well. I don't know. Okay, well, thank you. All right, well, we'll move on to then the Finance and Operations Committee, and yeah, I agree. It looks like you guys have been busy. So whoever would like to provide an update on that?
I can kind of kick it off here.
Okay, sounds
So
good.
the one of the multiple topics that the Finance and Operations Committee discussed at their recent meetings was the increased number of large electric loads, 5 megawatts and greater, that we've gotten into the utility. This includes data storage, cryptocurrency, mining operations, which from staff's purview are more appropriately categorized as like high-density, energy-intensive computing uses. And projects like this, or projects of this scale, require a lot of coordination across not only our localized distribution system, but also the overall electric grid, Minnesota Power, MISO. So there's a lot of things that come about with this. And so what we had discussed internally to kind of formalize a process for these larger loads when they come in the door is to more or less create a large industrial user application process and kind of a framework which we as staff could use moving forward to kind of guide these projects from infancy all the way through getting signed purchase power agreements. So in your packet today is an example, or at least a draft version of an application for large industrial customers of 5 megawatts or greater, along with kind of a framework for how these processes would kind of work through the utility from start to finish. With that, I think I'm going to probably turn it over to Trent to kind of cover the high levels of the application and kind of the framework to kind of give the commission an idea of the scope and scale of what these projects kind of consist of. Some of the more recent ones that we've dealt with, of course, are the what first started off as VCV block metrics. We've also gotten a lot of phone calls of recent inquiring about large power in the city here of more recent. And so we really want to formalize this application process so that we have good guidance moving forward on how to handle these when they come in the door. And not only that, but to make sure that our costs are being recovered from the applicants when there's a lot of staff time that gets devoted to this stuff. So I'll pass it over to Trent to kind of give the high levels of the process here.
Thank you, Director Sandy. Yeah, so what we have before you today is what
Paul had mentioned, is kind of just a framework. So we've put in some numbers in here. They're, as a placeholder, they are what I would call some industry standards that we're seeing that other municipalities are also using for application processes similar to this. So the numbers are flexible or at the direction of what the commission would like to see there, so we just put those in for placeholders. But really, it starts out as a pre-application. So what we're trying to vet out is people that, I get probably 5 or 6 phone calls a month right now with just very broad questions. And so it's eating up some time, kind of interrogating those and trying to get some of the data back from them. There's not a lot of information shared on those phone calls, so it's really a very open-ended conversation from our purview. We don't really know where they're going and what they're asking for. I like to call it the tire kickers. So through this application process, we're hoping that if we put a little bit of a financial burden on these questions, that they're actually serious about doing business in Brainerd. So that's really what we kind of laid out in the body through this process here. I guess I would entertain any questions you might have what we've put in front of you now, maybe more direct so I don't ramble on for 5 minutes.
Before Trent rambles on, does any commission members have any thoughts or questions for him? I thought this was great.
I do have a
information.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if these people that are inquiring are ready to move forward after the application costs, would you require like milestone payments or like a letter of credit to back it so other people aren't paying the costs?
Absolutely. So really the boundaries, the goalposts we set in this narrative or our thought process here is to make sure that our native base load, our ratepayers we currently have today, aren't subsiding any of these projects. So that's exactly the train of thought that we have in this. So we would lean towards the commission for guidance on how you'd like us to put some of those pieces into the document. But yes, absolutely. The narrative behind this whole conversation from staff's perspective is how do we protect our ratepayers that are currently here today? Our native base load should not have to subsidize these projects. So this would be 100% paid for by the applicant, and through that entire process, any additions or any things that had to be added to the distribution system on the BPU side and or on the transmission side would be a bare cost of the applicant. So there shouldn't be any cost extended out to current ratepayers.
Yes.
Okay.
Great question.
Yes, I just have 2 quick
Yes.
questions. Under the application fees, the non-refundable part, are we good with the 5 to 10 megawatt / 10 to 25, or should we do 10 plus? Just in that, always that increment of just over 10, where does that fall? And that's always leads to the gray area, so I'm just wondering if we do 10 plus, just so that we don't have that gray area. And then just the cost, was this based off staff time? Is this kind of a general consensus of the going rate? I mean, where did you come up with the?
Yeah, so some of it's my experience with handling some of these projects. I put some of that into my calculation, but I also did an audit of other utilities, other municipalities. So what we'll see a broad difference between cooperatives and investor-owned utilities and how they handle some of these application processes. Their fees are much higher than what we have listed today. But from a municipal standpoint, as we are a municipal electric utility, that's where we kind of got that guidance from, was an average of what we're seeing across the state of Minnesota.
And this will be on our annual fees schedule, so if it needs to change, we can change it annually if need be?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to see a little bit more clarification on the 25 plus category. I wasn't a big fan of just saying to be determined based on project scope for the price. I don't know if we could build some sort of a rate schedule that lays it out. It just leaves a lot to opinion, I think, if we leave it wide open like that.
Great point. I think that what I'd add for a comment there is it would be your guys' opinion where that rate would be set. So it wouldn't be something that staff would come up with that number. We would put together that project, present it to the commission. The commission would then, give us guidance on where they want that application to land. So there's a big wide range. If somebody's coming looking for 100 megawatts, it's a lot different project than somebody coming looking for 30 or 40 megawatts. And so we know we'll see transmission impacts when we get into that 30, 40, 50 megawatt range. And that pricing then really is what we're showing here is what staff will have to put together for that. And that's really going to be with negotiations or conversations with Minnesota Power and MISO. We don't know what that time will take, and it depends on the condition of the current system at these times these applications hit. So it's a very gray answer, I understand that, but it would definitely be your guys' purview to set that price before we enter into the contract.
Would it be possible just to add in like an outline of scope of work saying, the 10,000 is the base price plus additional staff time or something that we can put together just for future stuff, that we're not just leaving it wide open forever?
Absolutely, and that's why we're presenting this today, for you guys to give us some directions. That's excellent. We could certainly do that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Chezak.
What's, at what point do you tell somebody calling in and asking questions, you got to fill out this application? I mean, I know that the utility does great service when people call in answering all kinds of questions. So I mean, as soon as they start talking about loads of 5 or more megawatts, is that where you just go steer them to this, or how do you look at that?
Yes, that would be the guidance of this document we have in front of us. Anything less than 5 megawatts, we could pretty much handle in-house with our engineering staff. Once we get outside, if things get bigger than that, then it's conversations with MISO and Minnesota Power again. Those are undetermined times that will take for staff to work through some of that, because it's really on Minnesota Power and MISO's burden to decide when that information is coming back and how that looks.
Thank you.
Sally.
I just, one more question, I didn't realize that, the part of the application, I just want to compliment staff for considering putting the requirement of getting all governing body approval prior to this, so thank you for that. You talk about the wastewater usage expected, or can we put something, or the water usage expected, could we put something in there about the type of chemicals, if you know what I mean, as far as the wastewater part of it, if we're covering the electricity, covering the water, would we not want to know what kind of business it is and which kind of, I mean, they would have chemicals in which they would use, right? I mean, every business is going to be different, so.
Great
Would
question.
this be the time to ask that, or is this too early in the game?
So I think that we're trying to streamline some of these, so I think that's a little early in this game,
Okay.
but Charlie does have avenues that they would have to go down for all of that, through his permitting stuff, so that is getting encapsulated in other portions of the project.
Okay, any other questions? Mike? Yes?
I got a couple. Maybe start off with a comment. After talking to, is it Vince from AEP?
Yes.
So after a conversation with Vince and listening to him talk about, he lives in the Columbus area, and data centers and mining centers have doubled their rates in the last few years. He was talking about just as a homeowner and a consumer. And that was alarming to me. So from my opinion on whatever we do with these requirements, more is better. You know, I look at everything through the lens of my businesses, and one of the things that we did to prevent tire kickers from wasting so much time at NP with weddings is we started qualifying the leads, and we do that by asking the kind of questions that you're asking, and it worked because there's a whole checklist process that they need to go through to check the boxes before we even give them a tour, so that we understand the dates available, the budget. This is what it costs, you know, and it solved a lot of problems. So I think the more questions you can ask in this application process and the more fees you can put on this, the better. You know, if these people want to come here and they want to invest and they want to use our power, in my opinion, they need to pay for it. We don't, just because they're a big power user, they're gonna use 100 megawatts. I don't think that we give them a deal as far as, you know, whatever they buy off MISO, I understand that's MISO priced and we don't have control of that. But we shouldn't give them a deal to handle them. We should make money off of that, or we should have margin built in that process to help our normal ratepayers, our Joe Blow household users that are just trying to make ends meet. So when I read it, that's the two things that I want to see, and I think it's a great start. I think you guys have done a lot of homework, and you're going down that path. I agree with Dolly on make sure they've looked at planning and zoning. Planning and zoning and our ordinances are pretty stiff, and I like that, because that will, once they look at that might make them go away as well. At the end of the day, it isn't like we have hundreds of megawatts of power that we can even do this with. We've got some extra power sometimes we don't. So I like the process you're going through, and I just would challenge to make it tough, to vet these people, to make sure they're not here wasting 5-6 years of our time and staff time and all the heartache that we got to go through to do this. So, thanks.
If I could add one point of clarification, some of the governmental bodies that we looked at that, part of that conversation also is to align with local cities' rules here, but we also serve outside of the city limits of Brainerd. So we also have Baxter City Council, and we have the Crow Wing County, and we have two, we have unorganized townships, which we go back to Crow Wing County, and we have two townships that we also serve. So each one of them can potentially have their own requirements in these projects. So that's why we also wanted to make sure that we encompass that language in there. So depending on where they're working, they are aligning with that government body that has jurisdiction in that area, and we're checking all the boxes before we get too far down the road.
Yes, Councilman Chesak.
Thank you. So when we get into this application, at what point, I read through it, probably don't understand it entirely, what you're asking for in some cases, but do we encumber ourselves to the applicant to provide something that it may be obvious isn't gonna be fulfilled? Is it kind of make staff go beyond what you otherwise would? You follow what I'm saying?
I think so. So, I mean, we as a municipality, we have to serve any applications that come in. And what I mean by that is we have to serve them to the best of our ability. So a project that comes in outside of our nameplate capacity that we have in our system, we have to give them an opportunity to be able to buy into that capacity. And that's through the PUC of the state of Minnesota. But it's not going to be cost prohibitive for a lot of people to take those projects on in that narrative. So I think, these are non-refundable. Currently, right now, what we've proposed is non-refundable application fees, and that's really to cover staff's time. Once it gets through our distribution system, we have a robust distribution system at this time. Our weakest link is really on the transmission side, which makes it a challenge for us because that's MISO and Minnesota Power that have to make those decisions. So it takes the ball out of our court a little bit, but these are things that we can lead up into these conversations to make sure the applicant understands that once we get to this stage of the game, then the ball gets bounced over to another court, and other people have to make the decisions, and we move forward from there. So that'd be the transparency that we're trying to bring forward with this application process.
Thanks, Trent.
Yes.
That brought up another question, I guess, but are we gonna put some sort of a time expectancy or something on the application process, or will we set any kind of expectation for that?
It's a great point. We certainly would take any direction from the commission on that, but I think that's a valid point that is not currently in here. But whatever you guys would come up with, we would.
I think that's a great point, because that would eliminate somebody tying up 5 years of our time for a nothing burger.
So some of the challenges we may run into is earlier I indicated that, MISO and Minnesota Power, it's on their time clock. So if Minnesota Power says, yes, we can do this project, and they may put it in their queue, and MISO may say, you know what, this is 5 years before any of this construction can happen because there are other needs of the bulk transmission system. So it might be outside of our control that it gets delayed. And it'd really be back on those. And through some of the documentation we have here, we do have some disclaimers in that once it leaves BPU's control and hits MISO and the bulk transmission grid, they're really at the mercy of those other agencies at that time. So it gets to be a challenge for us. We can't really say 90 days. We can make sure BPU side's done in an executed time that you guys would like to give us. But once it leaves our control, MISO and Minnesota Power, the regional transmission operator, really has those decisions. And then the projects may take years to actually mature into their construction process too.
My thought was more just around the application time frame for like how long, if it gives you guys a little bit more time, because if they say, well, you're stalling, say it's in our policy that we have X amount of time to execute this application, but
It's a great thing, and I'm embarrassed that I missed that part in this, and I would say that industry standard is about 90 days, so that would be something that I would float out to the commission for consideration, but we could go either direction, but I would say industry standard on a topic like this is 90 days for a return.
even for large project.
Yep.
Okay.
And so it has several different app spots, right? So you'd have 90 days on the pre-application, and then 90 days on the formal application, so that would just compound into each one of those application processes, but what I'm seeing is a 90-day turnaround on most of that. And then after 90 days, a lot of times it's only good information for 180 days. So after 180 days, after the applicant has, went through all the minutia of the form, after 180 days, it's dead, and it's a new application that has to start over again. It would also be an industry standard that isn't necessarily added into this current document.
Okay.
I'll ask.
Yeah, Commissioner Matten had a question here, then I can get to you.
And my only question is, because, that's right. When I just complimented on the receiving the final approval from governing bodies, don't they already have a timeline on their application process? I would assume so, planning and zoning governing. So
Yeah.
are we being redundant by putting another deadline?
If I could, yeah, so, city planning and zoning is very statutorily driven. There's, 60-day rules and things in statute that kind of guide that process. And so certainly, we want to make sure that it's not contradictory to that timing process, at the same time. But we can talk with, James over at City Hall here to kind of flesh that out a little more.
Yes, Councilman Chesak.
We are at City Hall, Mr. Sandy.
That's true.
Sorry. Is this got to be on flagpole with legal?
It has been reviewed at first glance by legal, but once the final document is prepared, we will definitely run it through legal one more time. Yep.
That's all I got. Thanks.
Yep. Okay, any other questions or thoughts? Yes.
I think, Mr. President, for today, I think we would like to just hear some concurrence from the commission that they would like to move forward with this kind of framework and process. That'll be kind of a moving target as we get the first kind of couple applications under our belt, and we can certainly provide regular updates, maybe in the unfinished business memo, to things that we have noticed that we are either lacking on in the application process or something that we may have missed. And so what I would ask for today is just, kind of an approval as to the process in this initial application with some of your comments noted here. We can kind of get a first draft out there. We do have one customer for sure that's kind of waiting on the outcome of this process that we told them that we would be considering this at this meeting. And then as we kind of move through, maybe as a first trial with them, we can bring back regular updates to the commission as we implement and see where our weak points are and things moving forward.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I was looking to see, exactly what action that you would like to see. So you would like a motion for that, or?
I think that would be prudent in this
Okay.
case.
Does anybody have a motion for what Paul Sandy just described?
I would say at least, the pre-application piece, I think, would be prudent at this point, to get the pre-application fee and the application document in place with any changes that the commission would like to see to that.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the application process as outlined with stipulations and notes as discussed.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 2, review Eden Renewables Solar Development Purchase Power Agreement Proposal. Who would like to take that one?
I can kind of kick this off again. I'll probably pass it over to Trent. So, at the last commission meeting, Eden Renewables introduced themselves, and at which time we've been working with Eden pretty regularly based on a first proposal PPA cost we got from them, and then subsequently after a meeting that we held with the finance and operations team and Eden in the same room, we discussed with them a potential for a revised PPA cost. After that meeting, we as staff put together kind of a cost impact or a avoided cost spreadsheet that we kind of vetted through the process with our current wholesale power provider, AEP, to get their feedback. We also discussed with AEP how this would impact our current wholesale power contract if we were to enter into an agreement with Eden Renewables to construct this solar array. At the finance committee meeting, the finance team did review the staff spreadsheet that we put together regarding the proposed pricing, contract term, interconnection, and wholesale power implications. Danny can get that up on the screen and present that to you today. I know that Eden is on the call today also to help assist in this discussion. What we came out in committee was it sounded as though staff's recommendation coming out of that committee is for the commission to approve the proposed PPA framework and basically allow staff to negotiate the final terms and conditions of a purchase power agreement and term sheet and complete the legal review of the PPA to come back at a future commission meeting. And that was based on the 35-year term at the 8.75 cents per kilowatt hour, with an estimated $500,000 interconnection cost. I think I'll turn it over to Trent and Danny to kind of discuss a little more about some of the financial implications with this project, and also any of the minutia that I might have missed in my summary, Mr. President.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you. Danny, go ahead.
So as we look at the estimated savings, which is on the next sheet, Max, so what we have proposed is the first year, starting in 2027, going through a 35-year term. The assumption was a 3.3% increase in our current wholesale cost over that 35 years. That's been our average over the last 3 years. And then a small degradation on each of the annuals for solar, as we've seen in our current solar projects, which is coming down. As we look through year 13 and 14, that's about the point where there's maybe a break-even point, and then moving forward with this PPA, we start seeing some cost savings as it goes through the end of the 35 years. Again, these are all estimates, and this spreadsheet does not take into account any credit for the renewable energy credits, which would be additional savings or provide us that information to meet our mandated 2040 goals. But these are the estimates we have presented and have vetted with AEP, our wholesale provider, as well.
For the benefit of commission members, could you just go through the rec and just what that means? And I think this would be a good opportunity, Trent, just to kind of educate all of us again on the 2040 mandate by the state. And you did a nice job in your report providing that information, but I think it is applicable to this conversation.
So what a REC or REC is a renewable energy credit. Right now, our wholesale provider, we buy renewable energy credits, which allow us to meet our mandated goals. So essentially, we're saying we're purposely buying renewable energy at a market price. We're paying $1.25 additional for each of those credits right now per megawatt. That gets billed to us on a quarterly basis and is just included in the wholesale rate. So right now, all of our energy is for the renewable energy is coming from our current generator, so that's solar and hydro. And then we purchase the remainder through the wholesale agreement. So we produce about 17%, I'm looking at Trent, 17% in-house, and then the rest we purchase. These credits would be in addition to that. And we have not, I guess I did not put that estimate together on what percentage we would be at the end, but AEP has that wholesale provider that will continue to allow us to get those recs.
Yeah, I think that was nicely done, Mr. Locke. I would also add that, where we can hedge into the future for a long-term contract like this, it gives us price stabilization so we can really do good rate design and know what our projects are going to be, and we can estimate what our revenues will be. So I think that the 35 years is a good part of this. I'll also add into the rec piece. That is a moving target, and we're speculating recs are going to be more expensive as we get closer to that 2040 rule, and so we don't know exactly where they're going to bottom out or top out after price range. And so we don't have a good way to hedge into that other than doing projects like this where we're making our own renewable energy credits. That's where we can do some price savings on our own side where we're not getting market volatility on that.
Maybe just a quick description of 2040. What exactly are we up against as a utility?
Yeah, so I have a detailed description in my report that I put farther in the packet here, but realistically where we're at is 2040 is a target right now for carbon-free energy. So carbon-free energy is going to land right now in the realm of solar, hydro, wind, nuclear are all examples of carbon-free energy. And right now the state of Minnesota has a mandate that all electricity sold in Minnesota will be carbon-free by 2040. So there's a renewable piece to that, and there's a carbon-free piece to that. So there's, in conjunction, they're working together. The state currently right now is out for RFPs to try to figure out how they're actually going to make this happen, because so far right now, it's not a successful path as they're getting back from utility operators back the information we're providing them. It doesn't appear that we're going to be able to continue to go down this mandate and keep reliable power on. So they're working on their end right now to try to give us better direction on how to make this. There is opportunities for us if we can prove to the commission year 2040, if we haven't made those goals yet, they could potentially give us an extension, but that won't be granted unless we're showing good faith efforts today to get to those points. So What we're trying not to do is have rate impacts on our rate base that are putting it to where people can't afford to have electricity anymore. Currently, the path we're going down right now is very expensive. So this is a project right now that I think insulates us for 35 years and does some of that protection for us in that realm.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Jesup.
I think I asked about this 3 years ago. It's a mandate, and we never hear of the consequences if we don't fulfill that mandate. Does anybody know the answer to that? Is there anything spelled out in statute that if you don't succeed in getting your carbon-free mandate acquired, what will happen to this public utility?
It's a great question, Jeff, and that is part of the RFP right now the state is working for, is what are they going to have for goalposts and what are the consequences if those aren't met? There is not currently guidance today in any statutes.
Chair?
Yes, Mike.
Trent, I know you know the answer to this question, but I just I wanna say the quiet part out loud. What happens if there's an administrative change at the state?
Yes, this is all basing off a stroke of a pen. So, I mean, this could change, the direction could change. It's very much depending on what that narrative is coming from the state.
I mean, it irritates me as a citizen to know that we're operating and making moves and making 35-year multi-million-dollar business decisions based on a unfunded mandate that can change with an election. So it's just, it doesn't mean anything other than I just want to make sure people understand that.
Yeah, the analogy I like to use is we're driving down the highway and it's posted 60-mile-an-hour zone, and that's where we're staying, is that 60-mile-an-hour zone. That may speed up, it may slow down, we don't know where that is, but currently the speed limit's 60.
Thank you.
I guess just to speak to the history of these projects, we did pursue this with the airport project. And I think that was more, the philosophy behind that was, again, just to your point, the long-term rate stabilization. So back when Mr. Wickland had pursued that, and you all as well. There is the state mandate portion of it, that's front and center for us. And then that's the other piece to it too, is just what we can do to try to ensure stable rates as we move forward. So it's trying to do what we can, I guess. But,
Mr. Chair?
yeah.
So, I guess just to give you my viewpoint, I think this is the time for that if staff's done. If not, I'll shut up. But, you know, when staff first brought this project to me, I'm not a fan of solar, and the first presentation they gave us was a pretty hard no, that I didn't want anything to do with this project. At the first finance meeting, when we talked to the developers, we asked some questions. They left that meeting and came back and answered some questions and changed the rates a little bit. And then at the second finance meeting, when we met with Vince and AEP, I think staff, I just got to commend staff, first of all. You guys did an outstanding job of convincing me that we should do this project, because I was an adamant no. And probably will be an adamant no on the next one until somebody can make the math work sense. But they dropped their power rates a little bit. AEP did a great job helping us look at what this was going to do over 35 years to our power purchase agreement with them. You know, there's a lot of benefits to other people for this. The developer, the landowner, the township. You know, this project is not in the city limits. It's actually in the township limits just outside of this. So I wasn't understanding why to do it. But when I look at, you know, and this all needs to be in the contract too. We don't have an official contract yet. But, you know, they're guaranteeing 90%. That was kind of, am I saying that right?
That's accurate, yes.
Yeah, so to me, that they're gonna guarantee 90% of the power that this thing puts out is a big deal. And then when you look at, and I know it's an estimated savings over 35 years of $10 million. Now, that's, to me, is a very positive thing for the city ratepayers. So I'm totally for this project now. I think we should do it. I think it hedges us for the future, no matter what the political realm is. The fact that they're gonna guarantee that power, And the fact that we're producing our own power, that's what they call behind the meter. I'm a big fan of that after watching what happened in Texas a few years ago. I think the more power generation we can have, the more megawatts we can get out of the solar projects that we have, the more megawatts we can get out of our hydro project, the better and more safe our community is in the long run. So that's kind of what I got out of all the meetings that I've been in.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks to the finance team for putting so much time into this and staff. Commissioner Wusso.
One question, and I know Mr. J brought it up last time, and I know the theses are here, is what are the chances that you would ever annex into the city? Is that even an option? And you don't, I guess you don't have to answer now, I'm assuming the question had been asked. That's it, okay. Got it, thank you.
Okay, any other additional comments or questions? Yes, Danny?
I'll point out that the estimated savings does include all of the increases we're aware in the AEP contract, if that wasn't clear before.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Commissioner Jay?
Just so there's clarification on it, there's tax benefit to Oaklawn Township because of this as well, correct?
Yes, that is accurate.
And that's the only part that I have a tough thing with, is that we're making all of the commitment that Oaklawn Township doesn't have a lot of skin in the game for it, but they get all the benefit from it. Other than that, I think it's a good project, but that's something that I'm not a huge fan of.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners? Staff? Okay, yes, Paul?
Mr. President, if you'll have it, I mean, I think Tom is online too. If the commission has any other questions, maybe Tom can, reintroduce himself for the purposes of Misty.
Sure.
To meet Tom, and maybe just go over anything that maybe clarifications or anything that we might have missed in their current proposal to us.
Yeah, that sounds great. Go ahead, Tom. Thank you for joining us.
Hang on 1 second, Tom. Tom, we can't hear you. Give us 1 minute.
What do you have to push to unmute yourself?
I think it's right in front of me.
Well, I think that might be for WebEx, so I'm not certain.
*6 to unmute, Tom? Or, I don't know.
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to identify myself too. I'm Bob Long. I'm a consultant with Eden, who lives up in 50 Lakes, so I've been working on the project. So if he can't get speaking, I can at least do some talking, answer questions too, so thanks.
Okay. Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Tom or Mr. Long that's in the crowd here today?
Chair, I might add one thing, while Tom's trying to get out, one thing about that comment about the.
Mr. Long, if you could come up to the microphone, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Robert Long, and I'm a consultant with the Eden Renewables team. I actually live in 50 Lakes, Minnesota on Peninsula Road, so it's good to be here in my local community area. If Tom can get on, he'll obviously can answer questions, but first of all, we appreciate all the work the staff and the finance committee have been doing on this, and with the Teach family, we've had good conversations with them, so we get a good sight. The one point, it turned out, because we just couldn't find enough acreage within the city limits to obviously locate the array. It had to be right across the border, in the township, but it allowed us to get the acreage we needed, which is about 60 acres of land, roughly. One of the, although you're right, the local jurisdiction where the arrays are located do get a benefit, but the other benefit is to Crow Wing County. So under the Minnesota solar production tax, it's called, the county and the local jurisdiction share in that tax. So Crow Wing County technically will get the dollars. If it was in the city, it would go to the city. In this case, it's in the township, but the Crow Wing County actually gets the bulk of the revenue from the array under the solar production tax.
Is it Crow Wing Township or Oaklawn? Did you say?
Oaklawn.
Oaklawn, okay. I thought he said Crow Wing, I'm sorry.
Crow Wing County would get,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for that
Hello,
clarification.
everyone.
There he
I
is.
wonder if you can hear me now. Brilliant. Apologies. Commissioner Bayless, great to meet you. Thanks, Bob, for stepping in there. There was a technical difficulty on my end, so apologies for that. I welcome any questions. I'm thrilled that we're speaking to the Commission today, and welcome any questions you might have for myself or Bob Long in the room.
Okay, any questions? Okay. All right, at this point then, looking for,
I'd like to make a motion to basically do what staff's recommending here. Get the PPA framework and authorize Director Sandy to negotiate the final term sheet and complete legal review of this agreement based on a 35-year term at .0875 per kilowatt hour and an estimated $500,000 interconnect cost.
okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'd like to second it with an amendment, just to say that we're moving forward with a letter of intent, non-binding letter of intent, correct? Yep. There's one more vote needed after all this, right? Once contract's done? Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, we have a motion and,
I would like to amend the motion as Commissioner Jay has presented.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I do have something that I will abstain from this vote. The company I work for has done some survey work for Eden Renewables, so I will be abstaining from the vote. Okay, no further discussion, then all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, thank you everybody for all of your hard work and for being here today. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item number 3, approve replacement and payout of totaled water distribution truck. Danny?
Thank you, Mr. President. So we've had some unfortunate series of events over the last couple months here with our water service trucks. 2 of our water service trucks are currently out of commission. One wasn't an accident. We had no injuries. The accident was of no fault to BPU staff. And the second one had a transmission failure. So we are down to our, I'll say, last service truck for a team of 5 people. And before you, we have a request. Both of these vehicles were scheduled to be replaced in the 5-year SIP. We're asking for a budget amendment to actually replace both vehicles in the current year at a cost of approximately $260,000. That's fully loaded with the trucks, and two vehicles, which would be less any insurance proceeds from the totaled vehicle. The process would be just approve the amendment. We are looking at the amendment as kind of an emergency situation. The opportunity we had the vehicle, the first vehicle, scheduled to be replaced in the 2026 budget. We pushed it back to 2027, thinking we could get another year out of the vehicle, and here we sit with no vehicle at the moment. The request then of staff would be to move forward, getting an amendment, purchasing 2 vehicles we could of a like year, so that if we have similar issues, we probably understand those issues and can fix them quicker in-house and get common parts and such for our internal maintenance. And that would be the amendment request.
Councilman Chezard.
Yes, one of them's had a failed transmission. Is that currently being worked on?
That is correct. It is being replaced right now.
Okay, so then when that truck, if this goes through, we have 2 new trucks ordered, fully equipped. Do we salvage equipment then from the other ones, or the other one, I guess, that we can, I assume we do that?
Absolutely, yes. We pull every piece off that we can use into the future for the next trucks. I think one thing I'll add to the conversation is we are currently interviewing more water service workers, so this will be hopefully in the next month, a crew of 5, which has been a crew of 3 now for a few months and a crew of 4 for many years. So that extra truck is needed currently. We do have other trucks we can run around with, but with the project 210 kicking off, there's gonna be a lot of work going on for us, and these trucks are gonna be in multiple locations. Everything looks good on the plan set right now, but once the big iron starts swinging around, that crew will be extremely busy this summer, I can guarantee you.
So if this goes through and we order 2, Do we have the third one then with the transmission being worked on? Is that how I understand it?
Yes, that truck will be repurposed more into our heavy truck, so that truck chassis on that particular, it's not a pickup truck, the one that transmission's currently getting done on, it's a 5500 class truck, so it has our big utility body on it. We don't see the purpose of that body anymore, so that truck will be converted into a flatbed with an air compressor. It'll allow us to be able to get into valves, gate valves, things along those natures that are a little more of a challenge currently today with the equipment we have. So we're actually upgrading that older chassis into some more modern equipment.
Is that going to be budgeted then is that budgeted for this year or next year?
That is already part of the budget. Danny,
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's budgeted already, yep.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendment to the budget for the addition of the extra truck.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair, it was extra truck or are you getting two?
2.
Okay.
It's only an additional truck, though. The other one was already approved in the budget. So it's only one additional truck to the budget.
Correct.
Mr.
Yes,
President.
Danny.
Both vehicles are in the 5-year budget. We're just moving them from future years to the current year.
Okay.
Total purchase of 2 vehicles at this time.
So 2 vehicles at this time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything, Mike?
Yeah, I don't like buying 2 trucks at this cost, although at the same time, with the amount of work that's gonna happen on the 210 project, and the other thing that nobody's mentioned is the lead service line replacement that's coming the next 10 years. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of work, and I would just as soon give the boys the equipment and tools they need to go do a good job, because they do a good job. So I will support this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
We just don't have it, I mean, this was a total loss. We have no idea about the insurance replacement. So, I mean,
Insurance replacements, right now it's estimated at like 12 grand.
oh, so,
The truck was almost fully depreciated, so yeah.
but in the meantime, the other truck is being worked on with the new transmission. So until new trucks are purchased, will be our working truck for now. Okay. That's all I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Unfinished business. See attached separate memo regarding updates on unfinished business. We'll kick off item A, review city code section 705. What? Yes.
Thanks, Jeff, for pointing it out. I failed to attach the unfinished business memo. I sent it all to you separately. If you have any questions, staff are here to answer those questions. We added significant amount of acronyms on those acronym pages for you all.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Just what we need is more acronyms.
Okay, item A, review city code section 705 water system. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. President. So back in 2023, the Public Utilities Commission directed staff to undertake a full repeal and replacement of Section 705 water system within the Brainerd City Code. As you all recall, our current Section 705 is about 1 page long in 2 paragraphs and doesn't really cover the standards and regulatory requirements that we need to efficiently operate and maintain our water distribution system. I've attached both the existing Section 705 and the proposed draft replacement to this agenda request. You can see there is a lot more detail in this version of the draft 705. What we're requesting from the commission today is feedback on the proposed ordinance revisions so that we can incorporate any necessary changes before we bring this full ordinance to the Brainerd City Council for formal review and adoption. We have taken time, both from a staff perspective, we also sent this through legal review with the city attorney to ensure we have consistency with current practices, state laws, and city policies. The proposed Section 705 really modernizes and clarifies the city's water system regulations, which we consider as kind of a contractual agreement between the city and our customers when they receive water from our water distribution system. It really covers requirements for properties that are seeking water service, standard service connections, responsibilities for maintenance, and updated operational policies. As we go through this year with our policy updates, we also made sure that our policies and our current practices align with what's in the new code document. There are requirements as to entering into pre-annexation agreements for receiving service, making sure that when a property wants to receive water service, that work is being performed by licensed plumbers and contractors through the city, making sure that construction standards are aligned with the plumbing code and the Minnesota Department of Health separation guidelines, addressing leaks, frozen water lines, managing abandoned services. And so kind of the full spectrum. I hope that the commission all had the chance to read that ordinance from kind of front to back. Staff put a lot of time and effort into it, and ensuring that it not only meets our regulatory requirements, but also was acceptable to our operations staff that are actually performing the work out in the field. So at this time, I think we're looking for any recommended changes, discussion from the commission related to the draft that we have in front of you. We'll be taking copious notes to make sure that we capture everything that the commission says or has consensus for us to change within the document. I will preface that by saying I did receive a list of questions from Council Liaison Chesak, and I believe I answered all those this morning to him. There's a few minor things that we'll be going through and changing based on his comments. That being ensuring that there's consistency between how we label property owners and customers. That was one thing that Jeff caught on to. And ensuring that the property owner maintains the onus of the service line, and not necessarily the customer in all circumstances, because in cases of like a rental property, the renter is not going to be the one that's replacing a service line. It's going to be the property owner, so the owner of record. So there's a few items in there. I can go through all of Jeff's comments or questions if you would like, Mr. President. Otherwise, if you'll have it, I could also just blind carbon copy all of the commission members on my responses to him this morning. But I kind of leave it up to you, Mr. President, on how you want to kind of manage the comment process back to staff so we can incorporate changes.
I'd be open to that. I don't know what the rest of the commissioners think, but
I'll be totally honest, with everything else I've done for the PUC the last few weeks, I have not had a chance to look at this the way I would like to, as somebody that deals with a lot of these problems. So I don't know if we have to make a recommendation today, but I would, if we could get a email chain going back and forth, I don't know if that's legal or not, but I would like to spend some time digging into this. But I haven't had time, just out of full transparency, so I can't answer very many questions today.
understood. We could pick this up next month, or do you feel like there's more urgency to get something?
So, Council Liaison Chesak can speak to this. So the council is going through a codification process right now. So there is some urgency on this. So if the Public Utilities Commission makes some sort of recommendation to the council that we've reviewed this, it still has to go through the council process, which is a 2-meeting process. And so if we push this to April, this likely wouldn't be in place until June if everything goes perfectly at the council level. I think we're okay with that. This has been a long process to get to this point. We want to make sure it's right, and that when we send it in for the codification process, we're not having to go back and make changes at a later date. And so I think from a staff perspective, we're certainly willing to push this to the next council or the next commission agenda to ensure everyone has adequate time to review it. And certainly in the meantime, and we could ask maybe that commission members, within the next 2 weeks, send us all your questions and comments just in an email to staff. And that way we can put together kind of a full list of questions and comments for the commission's review at the next meeting, to there might be a lot of duplicity in things that comes about with that. And so Mr. Chesak's already done that. And so if we can ask the rest of the commissioners to send in their comments by April 14th, April 15th, that way we can put it together for the next commission agenda.
I would really appreciate that.
Mr. President,
Yes.
you all want to thank Mr. Sandy for taking my question, because I was going to sit here and ask him, and I thought I'll just send it to him and not have to worry about going through it, because I think they're all pretty much remedial questions I had. But it's kind of interesting to me how staff's been working on this for 3 years. We get 3 days.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yes, please.
I only have the one question, and I think this is going to be the same question for the next few, is the cost part of it is, that's always going to be remaining in the annual fees schedule, right? For instance, people outside of city limits, 2 times the cost, it's not in this, it's going to be in the annual fee structure.
Correct. That was actually a question that Mr.
Okay, all
Chesak
right.
posed this morning, and that is in our fee schedule. That's a BPU policy. We like to leave that stuff out of here because if there's ever a change in the commission or council as it relates to water fees, then we don't have to go through a whole ordinance
Easier
revision
to do it there.
process.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify, and I'll get my 2 cents into you then. Thanks.
Yes, Commissioner
Ju-
James.
Just so I'm clear, the existing one is the 2 paragraphs? Okay.
You are correct.
I got it. Yeah, I'm like, am I missing some sheets here? So, all right.
Which seems like you're not.
Yeah, I mean, I've got them all here, so.
Great clarification. Well, thanks for all the hard work on that. Yeah, it's a lot of things to take in, so appreciate the extra time.
One other
As
thing, if
needed.
I could, for staff. Do these have to be sent to us right protected? Because it would make my job a lot easier if I could copy and paste and to make notes and send emails and ask questions. I know there's some concern about not right protecting a document, but, I mean,
Go ahead, Dolly.
Is it just the enable editing that you have to click when you first get in there, or?
I don't know. I don't know how to unload.
We can talk to IT staff and see if there's a way we can send it to make it easier to.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay, yeah.
Do we need a motion to move forward with this, or you guys are fine with just
I
moving
think if
along?
there's a consensus that we can get comments
Okay.
back in 2 weeks, I think
Alright.
that's perfectly fine, and then we'll bring this item back on the next agenda.
Thank you.
Good. We got our homework assignment then.
2 weeks is April 15th. So tax day.
Tax day.
Thank you for
Oh,
that.
That's my birthday too.
even better
so-
to have it.
Happy birthday!
Jeez, that's a lot to remember. Okay. Is it a significant birthday? Well, every
No,
birthday's
it's not.
significant.
Every birthday's significant.
Okay. Well, I think that's a fair ask, right? Everybody, we good with that?
Sure.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for putting all that together. We'll move on to item B, approve amendments to BPU policy 200711, utility service turn on fee. Danny.
President. So as part of the 26 comprehensive policy review, we have 3 policies this month that we are presenting to commission. The 2007-11 water service turn-on fee, we're proposing amend to a utility service turn-on fee. The redlined document is included in the packet. The primary changes, we're changing it from a water turn-on fee to any service turn-on fee, removing any fee language from the policy and referring it to the schedule of fees that would be approved. As I look through the schedule of fees and as we go through the conversation, I would say once we get through the comprehensive review, you'll have another schedule of fees to formalize here after we get through all the policies. So let's not change it every meeting. We'll do it at the end here when we expect to have it done August, September timeframe. The real purpose of changing it to the utility service turn-on fee, it was just allowing staff and our administration side, then all staff, we don't have a difference between water, electric, any wastewater. We're just consistent across all of the divisions. That would be the goal of the changes. Those are reflected in the policy statement, and then the other changes are adjusting to the 26 template we've previously approved. Staff are here to answer any questions.
Danny, any questions for Danny? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I would make the motion to approve the 2007-11 utility service turn-on policy.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to approve BPU policy 2007, 12 fee for check readings and test changes of utility meters.
Mr. President.
Danny, yeah.
The second we have proposed is the 2007-12 fee for check readings and test change of utility meters. Again, this was a meter specific to water meter policy. We have changed and updated the policy statement to reflect all utility meters, not just water meters. We've removed the fee to the fee schedule and aligned the verbiage in the policy statement to match with the 705, which you have seen or will be making comments. It improves kind of the transparency, alignment, and making sure that all utilities are created equal. And that is what we have put in front of you today. Staff are here to answer any questions.
Any questions for Danny?
I only have one, and on our original policy, there was a timeline as to how, a proportional deduction if it was found in more than 2% error. I don't see that in the new policy, and I don't know if we're just dropping that or if I'm not understanding. But my question on the proration was how far back would it have gone anyway?
I can probably answer that question. So in the draft, Water Code 705, we go back one bill. So I mean, really, it's the onus of the, if the property owner really wants to contest their meter reading, we would have to go in and perform that test. Trent's got a different operation than like the water guys would for testing a meter. But then we would need to, so we want to put kind of a time limit on that because we don't want people coming in and saying, I've realized this issue for the last 8 months, I need, and if it's out of calibration, we don't want to try to go back 8 months and try to figure out what their last 8 months of corrections would be. And so we do, I think it states that it goes back one bill, and I think that.
Didn't see that anywhere. That's why I'm asking. And so it would be on section 4 would be the, where it refers to from the original, but I didn't see a timeline of how far back it goes.
It's in the second paragraph.
That's what I'm looking at.
Second line, percent, there shall be a promotional deduction made from the previous bill.
Okay. Okay, I'm maybe just clarifying, going back no more than, or no-
Maybe just a small change, no more than
Yeah, it's something along those lines.
one
'cause it-
previous billing period.
Right, there you go. I just so that I think we are very clear, it's not gonna go back, as you said, 8 months or a year from whatever they first, just so that we can put it in black and white.
I think the challenge we'll face there is the PUC has a different statute and water has a different statute on what can and cannot be adjusted. So that would be my,
Can you repeat that? Say that
so
again?
the PUC can go back a certain amount of years and water and wastewater charges can go back only a certain amount of years. Those are different in state statute.
Right?
So by
For
going.
us to make that correction, but for a property owner is what this is referring to. You can
I'm following what
think
you're saying.
about, do you see what I'm
Okay.
saying? I just, to make it more relevant, that for the property owner, that any prorations would only go back 1 month or to the previous month's billing, and that's it. And maybe it's clear enough. I just didn't think it was, in my mind, I questioned it and had a question mark by it, so that's all.
Chair?
Yes.
Is there state statute that we're superseding by doing this?
Potentially.
I think we better be careful.
we need to look into that. We can table this for a future.
Mr. President, if I may, definitely on
Yes.
the electric side, we would be going against a state statute.
Okay, thank you.
That's one thing we'll check up on, so maybe we table this one for today and then we'll bring it back next meeting.
Okay.
So no recommendation at this time? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Great discussion. Item D, approved BPU policy 2008, 13, access to premises.
Mr. President, I think, point of order, I think we would need a motion to table.
I'd make
Oh,
that motion to table.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, further discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item D, approve BPU policy 200813, access to premises. Danny.
Mr. President, thank you. The third policy we have for this month is the 2008-13 access to premises. Again, this policy had a policy statement specific to water meters only. We have adjusted the policy statement to reflect the state statute requirements for entering the policy premises, and then the BPU schedule has been removed to just refer to the fee schedule that will be approved annually and adjusted to reflect the current template. Staff are here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Danny. Any questions on this as presented?
The only thing I noticed was the A should probably be removed before the redacted water word. Repairing and/or replacing a metering equipment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you see that?
Are we in the policy statement? Or are we in?
The red line.
Red line.
Just take A out as
Go
well.
up, yeah,
Yeah.
just say
Sure.
right before water on the red line. Yep.
Oh, right here.
We got a spell check on commission. I love it.
We will make
You
that
guys are gonna be on your toes.
Yeah, looking for clarification, I guess, on, so we're replacing with something, but the red line says something, so.
So the red line is a change to the original policy statement. The policy statement does not, just says repairing or replacing of a utility meter.
So what you've proposed is correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, just for
Yeah.
clarification.
Okay,
No, that's good. Good
think
thorough
the-
review, though.
you didn't do your red line right.
Not through the red line, right?
Got you.
I think with this, it makes it a lot easier to make it universal and not have to correct it every few years, so I like it.
Okay, any other further questions, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion is second, further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, item E, resolution 26-02, approving applications to the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority for lead service line replacement projects. Oh,
Thank you, Mr. President. So, just a little history for Misty a little bit here. So the commission has entered into 3 separate professional services agreements with Bolton & Mink to design and administer 3 galvanized water service line replacement projects in 2026. The 3 projects include the first one being replacing galvanized water service lines with the city's planned 2026 street and utility projects. The second project is what we're calling a Phase 1 galvanized water service line replacement project, and it's focused in on northeast Brainerd that has kind of our highest density of galvanized service lines in the city. That's on Gillis Avenue, First Avenue Northeast, and Second Avenue Northeast. The third project was recently authorized to move forward, and that was the replacement of 13 known galvanized service lines as a part of the planned reconstruction of the alleyway between South 6th and South 7th Street from Paul Street to Joseph Street. The funding that we've been awarded for these 3 projects comes from the Minnesota Department of Health, and it's administered through the Public Facilities Authority. And that amount was $2,675,000. As part of, as we move through, so Bolton & Mink has been working through collecting property owner agreements. So we have an agreement document that property owners get if they want to participate in this project at no cost to them. They would sign this agreement document. We would get access to their property, take pictures in their basement, figure out the construction methodology that is likely to be used for the project to get the service line replaced if it's galvanized materials. So Bolton and Mink has been working through that process. The plans will be going in today. Today is the March 31st deadline for plan submittal. As a part of the process of being able to be reimbursed for construction and engineering funds, we have to submit an application to the Public Facilities Authority. And this resolution in front of the commission today allows staff to do just that. It's to authorize Brainerd Public Utilities and Bolton and Mink to basically submit the applications for these 3 projects and work through the process with the Public Facilities Authority to obtain reimbursement of our grant dollars that we received for these projects. Construction is anticipated once plans are certified and approved by the Department of Health. We'll be going out for bids. The Ronald and Joseph Alley project is currently out for quotes, but the other 2 projects being a little larger in scale, they'll go out for bids once things are certified and we can move forward in the bidding process. So then construction will be happening in June, July, August kind of timeline once everything gets put into place. And so we expect many of these projects in the coming years. Our current mandate is to have all of our lead and galvanized water service lines replaced by 2033 is the deadline put on by the Department of Health at this time, and the EPA for that matter. And so when we, while the funding stream is not currently there, there's a lot of talk down at the legislature to hopefully continue authorizing more funding packages to fund this lead and galvanized service line replacement program for communities that have these lines present in their systems. So with that, staff's recommendation is to approve the attached resolution, which basically authorized the applications to the Public Facilities Authority. I will make note that the City Council did also receive this resolution and adopted it at their last regularly scheduled City Council meeting.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Yes,
Mr. President?
Council, yep.
Is it possible, Paul, to get the total number of people who have identified with galvanized that have either, the number of those that have either agreed to have it replaced or not, one or the other, just get a breakdown? Is that
Yeah,
something we could-
Brian Drown is in the crowd, Mr. President, if you would allow him to come up to the podium. He might have an up-to-date, at least high ballpark number of, we've been in communication with them quite a bit, and I think we had a pretty good response rate, but.
Brian Drown with Bolton and Mink. So Ronald and Joseph, I think Paul has 13 of those. We've been working, there's 35 identified with the city's reconstruction project, and we're still working on 7. So there's 28 out of 35. And then on the northeast, there's 64 identified, and I think we have agreements for 50 of those 64. So the 2 bigger ones, we're running at about 75% participation of people getting back. We are including those that have not responded in the plans with more of a higher level estimate, just in that if they see their neighbors getting their service, we want to keep that open for as long as, and bid as much as we can, and hopefully gather those maybe agreements
Right during
as we can, but keep that door open for them.
So there is technically like no deadline then for residents,
We had a deadline on the letters, but as you know, renters, things like that, it's tough, and we've tried multiple different avenues. Posted letters, door hangers, door to door after hours. So we've tried a little bit of everything to try to get a hold of these ones that are outstanding yet, and
have we contacted actual landlords or property owners?
property owners,
Okay.
landlords, door hangers, stopping in at dinner time. There's nothing else. I think we've gone down every rabbit hole we can think of.
What happens if we, does this money have to go back if we don't spend it? Do you see there being excess money if not enough people engaged? How does that work?
I was gonna ask the same thing.
So, yeah, it's estimated on basically costing about $20,000 per service.
Yeah.
That very well could come in less. I
Right.
mean, you have an inventory of 1,024 services that have not been, that need to be changed out in the next 10 years. So I think if we have excess money this year, we'll just try to start.
Yeah,
We'll just start contacting people further up the block, I think, and
okay.
just, we'll have a
Yeah.
contractor in tow. We'll have a plan that's certified that says the materials and wage rates and all that will be met, and I think we'll know where we're at in probably about 6 weeks.
To put it simply, it's a very cumbersome process because you don't know what the costs are until the bids come back. And so we're making some high-level estimates on how many service lines we can get done. And then when we don't have everyone sign up for it, then it's kind of the chicken and the egg thing, do you reallocate funds right now with the expectation that they're not going to participate? So it's kind of it's a difficult process.
So Mike's asking the question, if we get everybody done that wants to get done and there's money left over, what happens to that money? Does it stay in our coffers to use further and more projects? Or
We have a contractor on board and the plans are certified.
Oh, I think Department of Health wants you to spend it in this fiscal year.
Yeah, so what
And
happens to it if we don't? That's the question.
Well, it just would not get allocated to you,
Okay.
because you'll be asking for reimbursements up to that number, and I think it would obviously be our goal
and
to
I didn't-
use all that.
Yeah,
that
I didn't
money.
ask the question to not give you guys flexibility either. I sincerely just wondered. I like the way you're talking about being flexible, and literally if we get down to it and there's some extra money, we're going door to door trying to figure out how to spend it.
They want the communities to
Yeah,
spend this
yeah,
money as well,
yeah,
and.
yeah, I'm not
replace
saying I
this-
want to spend
Yeah.
every dime of it. So just to be clear, get it done.
Dolly, you have a question?
Yes, so this question's been asked a number of times, and I know Paul's tired of it, but you did answer very, very eloquently the last few times I've asked, and that was it. That was the question, what happens? Because just for clarification, did you say 35 in Southeast Phase 1? Is there 35 that have been identified?
Yes.
Okay, and 64 in the next one, 13 in the next one, but we have 1,024 within the city limits. And that was the question, that was my fear, because it does become a disclosure issue to homeowners and property owners, that they've been identified for a service line that needs to get replaced. So the question comes back is, we don't want to have to eat the cost of it, right? But if there is money there, and we've already identified the 1,024, how difficult would it be to just continue on if we have a contractor on board to start hitting into that extra 1,024 that's been identified? Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it's there, but I don't know what your plans are when you have to submit it for today's deadline. I don't know if the plan is just for those 3 projects, or that the 1,024 have been identified, that's just being attached with the plan to say, Brainerd has been identified to have that many.
So you have 1,024, and what MDH has said is we want everything changed out in a 10-year period.
Sure.
1,024 divided by 10 is roughly 100.
Yep.
Here's funding for 100. We think that funding is good we think you'll get that again next year. Beyond that, not guaranteed. So I think to everyone's point is, if our bids come in lower than if we can get 150 done, we just don't know right now.
Right, all
But-
I'm asking is that the
Yeah.
1,024 have been identified, we know.
Correct.
We know that there's $2.6 million that were being allocated this year, potentially again next year, but there's no guarantee for the future.
Right.
But in the event that the 112 aren't all replaced right away, we have that opportunity to go seek out these other ones. That's all I wanted to know.
Yes.
That just make it very clear and simple, thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilman Chezak.
When we're doing the street project, are the water line mains, are they going to be replaced, or just the service lines where there's galvanized? And if that's the case, we're then, as a city or utility, going to take any galvanized portions from the main to the curb stop as well? And when is that compensated by this 2.75 million?
Yes, Paul.
When does the city get compensation, at what point or not?
It's a great question, Mr. Chezak. Our forefathers were really planning ahead, where a majority of the BPU-owned side in the city is copper under the roads. And so that is one thing working to our benefit. I would say probably 99% of our service line replacements are from the curb stop to the home. And so There's very, very, very few instances where we're going to run into a galvanized service line under the street. I don't even know if there's, I mean, everyone that we've potholed down to check, that's been an unknown on the BPU owned side, has been copper to date. And so one thing that we were set up very well with was they were putting copper under the roadways for since the beginning of time. And so that's a good thing for us where while those water mains and the service lines up to the curb stop are getting replaced with these 2026 projects, none of that would be eligible for the service line funding because they're all copper already. That makes sense.
What are they being replaced with?
HDPE.
Plastic. I'd like to make a motion to adopt this resolution as staff recommends.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Further discussion?
Could I just ask one? So this might have been at previous meetings, but the 2.6 million that's allocated, that's guaranteed funds.
Yes.
It's not at risk of being taken away, and we wouldn't have to move forward with spending the money if that was.
You are correct.
Yeah, this is on the 2026
Okay.
intended use plan.
That's it. Thanks.
Good question. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Roll call, it's a resolution.
Oh, it's a roll call, I'm sorry. Okay, roll call, please.
Bayless,
Yes.
Higgins,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Wasso,
Yes.
Anglin.
Yes.
I thought he'd say here.
I thought about it.
I thought about it.
I'm making myself nervous again here, so. All right. All right, okay. All right, new business is what we're gonna move on to. So approve professional services agreement with SEH for the development of city standard details and specs. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is something that we've been working closely on with city staff here over the last few months since I came on board. The city, so for our current, any type of construction project, we use a combination of what we'll call legacy standard details and technical specifications that are really modified on a project by project basis. And so it leads to a lot of inconsistencies. You know, really there's, three types of projects that we deal with. We have what city staff design in-house. So, on City Hall, we have Jesse and 2 engineering technicians that design a lot of our utility and street projects. We have consultants like Bolton and Mink that design projects on behalf of the city, so road, street, and utility projects. And then we have these developer projects. Keepers Construction is a great example of a developer-driven project that we've been approached by a developer. They have an engineer on board, and we work through them through the design process. Because our details and technical specifications haven't gone through a real comprehensive update in some time, it leads to, I'll call it inconsistencies between those 3 different, types of work. I'll preface this by saying, so when I was in the private field, the city of Baxter recently went through this process and creating a standardized document of city standard details and specifications that is the city's more or less playbook for every road and street and utility project that happens, whether that's a city-led project, a consultant project, or a developer-driven project. And really, the efficiencies come when you have these details and specifications produced, and you're only making minor modifications for project-specific scenarios. And it's basically a booklet that you produce with all of your standard details, all of your specifications in one spot. So when a developer comes in the door and they say, we're looking at extending street, water, and sewer utilities to our development, what are your city standards? And you basically hand them that book and say, here is all the city standards in one spot. Previous, to this agenda item, it would be pretty piecemealed, we would work with Charlie on some lift station, control panel stuff. Jesse would have some street standard typical sections. We would have some water main specifications, but it was never really a comprehensive combined one document that both staff, consultants, and developers can use to ensure consistency across all of our public infrastructure. So what we have in front of you today is a proposal from SEH, who completed the city of Baxter's standard details and specifications. And really, we're using theirs as a starting point to the development of ours. And so this scope of work presented in front of you basically starts at the city of Baxter's and kind of goes through a red line and modification process with city staff to produce our own set of documents. It's about a 6-month process from start to finish. How we've laid this out is we would start on the details first, so the actual drawings of a standard manhole, of a standard service connection, of a sanitary sewer lift station, of a street typical section. And we would work through all the details first, and then after the first 3 months, when we have all the details solidified, we would move to the specifications and start the technical guidelines on how to construct all of these items. And so what we're really looking at is trying to improve efficiency across all of our departments, whether it's a city-initiated project, if we have a consultant on board, or if we have a developer on board. And it just creates, not only clear expectations from a staff level, but also clear expectations that when contractors work in the city of Brainerd, they know exactly what they're working on, what the detail says, what the specifications say, and it's just consistent whether they're working for Keepers Construction or for the city. And so I think that's the real basis of this document. I think it just helps with project development from start to finish. I see this reducing our engineering fees in the future because the city has those set guidelines and standards in place to hand to developers. We've taken this on as a priority at a staff level because we've seen a need. The total cost of developing these city standard details and specifications is $40,000. We have a breakdown of how city staff would see this being broken between BPU and City Hall with the funds that the City Council is in charge of. And so we have it broken down right now. So the City Construction Fund, so this would have to go through City Council also, I'll preface by saying that. But the City Construction Fund would be responsible for $10,000 of that $40,000. Our BPU Water Distribution Enterprise Fund would be responsible for $10,000. The city's collection, sanitary sewer collection enterprise fund would be responsible for $10,000. The city's stormwater enterprise fund would be responsible for $5,000, and then the BPU wastewater lift station and force main enterprise fund would be responsible for $5,000 of this total $40,000 estimated cost. With that, I think I'll open it up for questions from commissioners, comments, feedback on this process. As I said, this will need to go to City Council. If the commission approves it today, it'll also have to go to the council for review.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions from commissioners?
I got some comments.
Sure.
I think this would be an outstanding thing for staff to do as a developer in Brainerd for the last almost 12 years. It has been very inconsistent, and it has been very, at times, hard to understand there's no playbook. I use that word all the time, so I'm totally for this. I think it's long overdue. I think it's good that we're gonna kind of go along with what Baxter's doing, or at least, use that as a reference. It probably saves us some money, hopefully. But I will say on the other flip side of that, as a developer that has went into communities in my career, let's not reinvent the wheel. A lot of things that I've went through in the city of Brainerd without this playbook in place. I've spent a lot of time talking in meetings and talking to planning and zoning and the PUC about stuff, and a lot of times what we're talking about is just statutory at the state and federal levels anyways. So, I would encourage you not to reinvent the wheel and try and mandate it or guide us in a way that's even harder than the state and the federal government makes for us to develop as it is now. So that would be my only comments. I think this is great, just the way it is, and I'll support it.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, Mr. J.
Will this give us future savings because we're not spending I mean, it just seems like we're constantly spending money on professional services and agreements with engineering firms. So will this reduce the need for that in the future, or is it gonna be that we're constantly adding $40,000 things to the budget to?
Yeah, I see this as kind of a, obviously there's maintenance and things that happen, but we can, once we get the deliverables, like the CAD files like, when you do a standard detail, they'll print it off in a PDF format, but they'll also deliver us the CAD files, and we have staff here that can do that annual maintenance and upkeep to our documents. And so I see this as every year after construction season, we gather as a management team with Jesse's staff. We say what went well, what went bad. We go through, we make the necessary updates to our standard document, reprint that, and it's actually something we probably post online to say, here's all of our standard details and specifications. They go through an annual update process of things that may not have went well to make sure they're continually up to date. And then when a consultant comes on board, we hand them over the CAD files. And so it's literally, we've been through last year's construction season, we've made the updates, here's the CAD files for our standard sanitary manhole. So we see it as an improvement in efficiency, therefore an improvement in costs in our consultant contracts moving forward.
And is there any overlap from previous work that's already been done? I mean, I'd love to see the schedule for the last 5 years for what we've spent on consultant fees, but is there overlap from previous work that's been done that we're
definitely going to collect all of our old details from all of our existing plan sets and things and make sure that we're capturing all of that. And it'll be it's kind of a compilation process to begin with. We'll compile all of our details first. We'll use the city's Baxter's as a guidance point, but we'll also have all of ours that we currently use in our plans and just getting them into one standardized document, if that makes sense.
okay?
Okay, any other questions?
I have maybe something for clarification. In the proposal letter, under the payment section, it says the estimated hourly fee is $40,000. Is not to exceed the $40,000, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so what they do in these proposals a lot of times, and these kind of proposals get a little bit fuzzy because you'll see in their assumptions area up above, they listed out how they got to that fee. And so as staff, we're responsible for managing scope, schedule, and budget just as much as they are to make sure that we're not burning up unnecessary hours asking a ton of questions to our consultants. And so we're on the hook to manage where they're at and their total budgeted hours just as much as they are. And so it's a joint process. If we start getting up to our capped number of hours for any of those personnels they have listed, we'll start having a conversation with them to say, how can we either finish this under the $40,000 fee, or how much more effort do we need past that 40,000 to get us to a finalized document. And so consultants do protect themselves by saying, we got to a $40,000 fee, here's the assumptions we made. That's just saying that it's a responsibility of them and us to manage those hours appropriately to make sure we get to the end game. But it's a two-way street. We need to provide the guidance to them to make sure they're efficient with their time, and vice versa. They need to be efficient with their time and telling us when, this is getting to be out of scope. What you're asking for is out of the scope of what we had presented to you. If we go down this path, we might need a fee amendment, that kind of thing. So
Okay.
And those are words from a former professional consultant.
that is very true.
I just wanted to ask, didn't we just invest in some software for some of this stuff? A few meetings ago, it was a recommendation you had made, Paul.
That was Waterworth, so that's our rate management, our
Okay.
continuous rate management software.
But when Mr. J asked about the accumulation of all of the information over the years, I guess my question is where will this one-stop shop be, this CAD file that the city engineers aren't utilizing and updating, and then you got BPU utilizing and updating at BPU? Where is this central point? Is this another software system, to read CAD files?
It's not a software system.
Right, it's
so
just CAD files.
Yep, it's CAD files. It's just our coordination meetings will be very important in this process, where we have our biweekly, kind of a November, December coordination meeting. We'll probably set aside, a debrief of 2026 construction and what updates we need to make to our 2026 standard details and specs to be ready for next year.
Right, I think my concern for future is, it sounds great today, and I am for it, don't get me wrong, because you just gotta know what's in the ground, right? And as it was said, you just don't want to be spending this additional money each and every time we do a project, but it'd be no different than me giving you the file and then not knowing what you gave back to me. Do you see what I mean? So my question with the integration of IT, is there not a way that we could all be looking at one file electronically?
That's in the works currently
Okay,
with our networks working on being integrated. So
I
right
just
now
would hate to do this and not have that in the works already, so, okay.
we are in the works on integrating the BPU network with the city network, where we'll have access sharing all of our files across both networks.
All right, thank you.
Mike?
I think from my standpoint, where this is gonna save us time and money, and staff hours and our time and money, is the fact that if I have a question about, I wanna put in a sewer and water on a private property that I'm developing, they can hand me a PDF saying, here's our standard. And I can go through and look at what the standards are and not have to call the engineers or the staff 1,000 times asking them a bunch of questions because it's not clear. There's a playbook that they can hand me, and then I as a developer can go make some decisions. So to me, that's the main thing that it's saving long-term, Corey, in my opinion, is that it's gonna help. We need to be more developer-friendly in this community. We need more developers here. We need more people investing money here. And this solves a lot of wishy-washy problems for me. The question I had is, does it ever come in under the $40,000? Ever?
Every one of my projects was under fee when I was in the consultant. That's the consultant answer.
So I guess as a commissioner answer response to that, if we see some of these coming under, it will help us spend more money or make decisions in the future. That's all I'm gonna say. Thanks.
That's a direct message to the consultant on this.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
I'd make a motion to approve this according to staff recommendations.
Okay, motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. New business, approved professional service agreement with SEH for development of the City of Brainerd Fats, Oils, and Grease Management and Inspection Program and development of a mercury minimization management and inspection program in conjunction with the City of Baxter. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this one's been on my report for a while. This is something that we've been coordinating with the City of Baxter on. Similarly to the last agenda item, the City of Baxter recently went through a pretty comprehensive process in updating their fats, oils, and grease management program at the city. And really, the first portion of this being the FOG program, we've gotten authorization from the City of Baxter to basically take their documents and put our name on them, which is a lot of what that scope of work will be. And making sure that the FOG program in the City of Baxter right now, it has a design manual, it has a discharge and best practices manual, a toolkit for restaurants or food service establishments, and a city toolkit. And the city has long needed a program to administer related to the management of fats, oils, and greases. This impacts our sanitary sewer system. And across this program touches many city departments. The building department, certainly, when they are doing plan review processes, it touches the engineering department, it touches BPU, not only in the force main and collection system, but also at the wastewater plant. And if we're managing our fog well and communicating with our restaurants, it is reducing costs across our collection system. And really what this program does is it sets out the design guidelines for sewer fog interceptors and traps. It makes sure that restaurants are aware of what the standards are for managing and maintaining their fog systems. It gives us opportunity to penalize those that are not doing the requirements from a food service establishment perspective. It provides staff with tools that are necessary to calculate when we get pumping slips from somebody cleaning an interceptor, of calculating the amount full of the interceptor, reducing the timelines that they need to clean their interceptors. So starting off at 90 days, if it's overly full in the last cleaning, they'll get dropped down to a 45-day. And then there's penalty provisions already in city code that this will all tie to. So really, we're trying to get to a point where we're not only, because we share a wastewater treatment facility, we wanted to align as closely as possible with what Baxter had just recently put together, making sure we're not contradicting what's currently in code from a fog perspective, and having SEH basically take the program they put together for the city of Baxter and making it the city of Brainerd's. So as a part of that process, in those discussions with Baxter, we've had a couple of exceedances at the wastewater plant for mercury. And this is a similar thing where we have ordinances in place where we try to minimize the amount of mercury going into our wastewater collection system. However, we don't really have an enforcement and inspection type program to make sure that our a lot of this kind of comes down to the dental providers and their amalgam equipment, their separators, and but it also is medical places, things that have mercury in their wastewater effluent and separators that they need to maintain. This is very similar to the FOG program. We would be taking the lead on developing this mercury program, and then subsequently Baxter would be taking our program. SEH has a professional services agreement in front of the Baxter Utility Commission here at their next meeting to basically take the mercury program that Brainerd Public Utilities creates and making it their own. And so we're trying to cross-coordinate because of the shared facility at the wastewater plant to make sure we have similar provisions in both cities because we share the wastewater plant, and similar processes on how we're inspecting and enforcing maintenance of these fog systems and mercury traps, mercury minimization measures that these businesses are providing. So this proposal in front of you today is simply to take Baxter's fog program and make it Brainerd's, and subsequently starting from square one on a mercury minimization program, developing the program, doing some data analysis, identifying likely mercury laden wastewater sources from businesses, creating a toolkit, creating enforcement mechanism, an implementation plan, looking at city code to make sure we're not contradicting city code, and basically creating tools and outreach materials for the mercury plan. Total cost for services from SEH is a total fee for Brainerd for $48,000 to do both programs, take Baxter's fog program, make it our own, and then create a mercury program, and then deliver that to Baxter to create their own program. With that, I'll take any questions from the commission.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Jay.
I've got all the questions today. So we're paying $48,000 to steal Baxter's homework. Is that right?
A majority of the project cost comes in the development of the mercury plan.
How much is weighted towards the mercury plan?
I believe it's in the, let's go to the letter proposal. It looks like
About half, wasn't it?
it's about $7,500 to take Baxter's fog program. So of the total, there's about $25,000 allocated to the mercury program and about $7,000 to the fog program.
Okay. And then didn't you say you guys, the city was going to self-perform a lot of the mercury program portion?
No, SEH would be doing a majority of the mercury.
Which portion were you saying you guys were gonna work on? You were just saying that you guys were doing some of it.
I think he was talking as we, the city, are handling the Mercury side
Yeah, and handing that to
and
Baxter
handing it to back.
in return for taking their fog program. So
Okay.
it's kind of a
Sort
horse
of
trading.
trading homework.
Yep,
Got it.
trading homework, yep.
Cheaters.
I mean, I think the city of Baxter spent $50,000 to $60,000 on their fog program, so we're getting a pretty good deal from them by taking their stuff. In return, we're saying, we'll develop this mercury program and you can make that your own. I think SEH has a proposal on their agenda. It'll probably be $7,500 to $10,000 just to make sure that everything aligns with what they have going on for code over there.
Okay, and last question, do we ever get other quotes for this, or is it always just SEH that does this because of relationships?
I would say that the reason we went with SEH in this is because they developed Baxter's fog program and they're set up the best to take that program and make it, and then we have a contact at SEH that used to work for Western Lake Sanitary Sewer District that helped out with the mercury plan up there, and so she has a lot of insight. So it's a professional service. You're looking for that expertise and the homework that, or people that have maybe worked on this side of the aisle before in developing these programs to create a program for us, if that makes sense.
It's a good question, but I think just to provide you maybe with some context, there certainly have been times where we've gone out for RFPs for
Certainly, yep.
professional services, so we have done that in the past. But again, like you said, just sometimes there's a expertise or a specialty with.
Or a project history of working with another community that we're stealing basically all the documents from, which is why we went down this path.
Yeah, good question though.
Is that theft against the law?
What's that?
You said if we're basically stealing it, if we outright stole it, would
They're,
that be-
they're public documents, but,
that's my point.
right.
Not unless we publicly state that we're doing it. Oh, wait. We're capitalizing on the relationships we have with others, I think is what we're doing.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I think, I don't have a question, I just have a statement, and this is the perfect situation in order to state how appreciative I am of the city of Baxter and the partnership there, to not have to reinvent the wheel. You know, and I guess to me, if we're sharing a wastewater treatment plant, it only makes sense that we would align with each other, and that they could benefit from the mercury side of things as well. So I just want to make the public comment that I am appreciative of what both staffs on Baxter and Brainerd are doing, and that we are aligning. It just makes absolute complete sense. So, thank you.
Well said, couldn't agree more. Yes.
Sorry, Mike.
No, you're good. That's why you're here. Ask away.
Yeah, so what about enforcement for existing? Are you going into existing restaurants and saying?
Most of them will be grandfathered in, so I mean, if they make a major change to their menu or something that would trigger a change to their grease management system, we would require that they get up to date with the design manual and best management practices. So it's really a menu, we're not gonna force people to change right away. We will start enforcing where we're requiring pumping logs to make sure that I think that's the biggest piece we've been missing in this whole thing is we have the ordinances in place. Not a lot of food service establishments know the requirements. So this is materials that'll help them understand the requirements and putting together an enforcement schedule, which says that you need to submit your pumping logs every 90 days. We're gonna do a calculation to check how full your grease trap is. And if your grease trap is over 25% full, you're gonna get bumped down to you have to clean it out every 45 days. And that might drive them to make changes if they're having to have someone come in and pump every 30 days because their grease trap is getting full. That might drive them just to make changes without even getting a change in menu or something. But we're really trying to focus in on the enforcement perspective and creating something that's enforceable that food service establishments will recognize and say that we're not doing a good enough job in maintaining this, and now we're having to pay the fees to keep these things clean.
Okay, so no huge upgrade costs right away to a bunch of businesses?
Correct.
Okay.
It's gonna be based on what their pumping logs come back at and the percent full.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. Oh, I was looking at Mike and I said yes to you, I think. So go ahead, Mr. Chesog.
I don't want to be overly critical, but Paul, when you talk about a change in menu, first of all, how would you know that? And second of all, what would have to change on a menu for that to affect the fats, oils, and greases?
If they were going to a sandwich shop, or if they were a sandwich shop that was just cutting cold meats and they wanted to start producing hot sandwiches that have a bunch of grease dripping on a pan that they need to wash. That's something.
Deep fryer operation? of
If they
some-
started a deep fryer operation or
enough.
something like that. I
But
mean,
how
it's-
would you know?
it's tough to track. I mean, obviously it's word of mouth and things, like, hey, and well, I mean, honestly, the pumping logs will say a lot. If they have a history of grease trap only being 10% full, then all of a sudden it's 40% full after 90 days, you're going to say, what changed here? And then you're probably going to go investigate and see what happened.
Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Chair.
Yes, Mike.
Charlie. What do you think of this deal?
He's sleeping.
It has been in the works for some time, and I appreciate taking the ball and running to the finish line with Paul. So this has been ongoing, a need from spec to the FOG program, to the Mercury, to the 705. So I appreciate the movement.
I think knowing a little bit about waste treatment and getting to know Charlie over the last year, he's the one that, everything goes downhill. Everything we're talking about on sanitary and lift, of course, a lift station will make it go uphill, but at some point, it's going downhill, and it's going to Charlie. Charlie is on the receiving end of all of this stuff, and I don't think that we've given him enough credit or, looked at our waste treatment plant as well as we could have in managing solids and BODs, CODs, grease, fats, oils, mercury, everything that goes down the drain. So even though this doesn't help me any, I definitely think it's needed, and I've been very surprised as a developer in Brainerd that like my restaurant, that there's wasn't a required 3,000 gallon grease interceptor out in the parking lot that's being pumped. It's been mind-boggling to me. So, and once this is in place, I will definitely be putting a grease trap in, because I just want to be part of the solution, not the problem. So thanks for the work.
Okay, any other discussion, questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing on those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to new business, item C, approved professional services agreement with Dave Berg Consulting LLC, electric utility cost of service and rate study. Danny, take it away.
As part of the 2026 budget process, we have moved and budgeted $50,000 for a cost of service study, a full cost of service study as it relates to the electric department. We still have water, wastewater, street light ongoing. The timeline for deliveries on all of the cost services studies are September, so that we can implement them before the 2027 year if there are any changes that would be needed. We received requested two proposals, one from UFS, Utility Financial Solutions. That is our incumbent rate provider. They've been doing rates for years. Dave Berg Consulting did the rates prior to UFS. We met with the Finance Committee to kind of further have a discussion on if there was any desire to change how we'd want to do that. Both proposals that are in front of you meet the needs of our rate study. The primary difference is Dave Berg Consulting was a more in-person process, which when we discussed with the Finance Committee, they were in favor of. The other piece that Dave Berg had was a specialized $5,000 was included in his fee for this specialized AMI meter analysis that when staff discussed with the Finance Committee, that's what kind of pushed this over the edge, even though it's slightly more expensive at $25,000 compared to the $22,900. The $22,900 was all virtual meetings with UFS. Dave Berg Consulting had 3 in-person meetings, with the third meeting being a formal presentation to the commission. That was the determination at the Finance Committee to have that value added and go with the $25,000 quote from Dave Berg Consulting. And staff are here to answer any questions, but that was the recommendation coming out of the committee discussion, was to approve Dave Berg Consulting at $25,000 with the AMI metering analysis.
Thank you, Danny. Mike?
I was part of this decision in the finance committee meeting, and I know it's a little more money, and that's not normally something we would do, but I actually met Dave at a MMUA meeting I went to a few months ago and talked to him at length and listened to him present. He's a super sharp guy, and I think it's worth the extra money to have him here with staff a couple times and then here looking us in the eyeball with his presentation. So that was most of my decision-making process. And he's also already worked here. He just, I think it's a wise investment.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, any other questions for Danny? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilman
does it have to
Chesler.
be spelled out which one, or is it recommendation? You're approving, you have a choice here.
You want to amend your motion, Mike?
I would make a motion to go along with staff recommendation to recommend Dave Berg Consulting with the specialized AMI meter analysis.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. New business item D, approve termination of the contract for professional services with Widseth and authorize the professional services agreement with HR Green for the main lift station reconstruction project. Paul, you want to take it?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So the main lift station project has been in project development. We're in the advanced stages of the design phase with both Widseth and HR Green actively contributing to the project development. We recently received a 90% design set, which represents a near final completion of the project's engineering, architectural, and process components for the lift station. During the early stages of the project development, we evaluated the overall consultant structure and effectiveness of that consultant team in relation to kind of the technical demands and the risk associated with the project. As a brief kind of summary, so Widseth is the prime consultant on this project and HR Green is the sub-consultant. When we had this evaluation, we initiated discussions with Widseth and HR Green to look at a potential adjustment in our contractual arrangement to more align with the risks associated with the project. That being more of the process and electrical and the actual functionality of the lift station rather than what Widseth is working on, which is the architectural and the less, the less risky elements of the project. And so we did have a discussion with our city attorney about this, and he recommended that while we could certainly continue with the contractual relationship as it is, he would highly recommend that we adjust this contract, basically the same scope and fee as originally proposed from Widseth and HR Green, but just swap the contractual relationship to HR Green being the much more risk-prone elements of this project and being a lift station and the process and piping and equipment and mechanical and electrical. If something does, design risks and things like that, if there are elements of this project that, are much more risk. And so we feel that the prime consultant agreement should lie with HR Green. So really it's a swapping of the contractual arrangement between going from Widseth being the prime consultant to HR Green, and then HR Green would sub-consult to Widseth for this project. So we would be paying bills and doing all that through HR Green. HR Green would carry the insurance requirements and ensure that the project is delivered. We have been operating this way since kind of project inception. HR Green's been leading all the project meetings They've been taking all the meeting minutes. They've been leading all the different disciplines through project development. We're just trying to make the contract reflect what's actually been happening during this process. So with that, we would recommend that based on staff's recommendation and the city attorney's recommendation to terminate that professional services agreement with Widseth and authorize that contract with HR Green. And that would just be pending legal review of the contractual terms and conditions with HR Green.
Thank you, Paul. Questions from commissioners?
I have a couple.
Do you have?
Chairman?
Dolly has a question here.
Just a quick question. I'm assuming termination is better than amending because their portion of the contract is complete, so it would finalize their portion and they could get paid and be done, right? And then they're just out of it, as opposed to amending it and then they sit with the contract until the project is completely done. I mean, what was the reasoning behind the attorney's decision to terminate?
It's mostly the prime consultant compared. So right now, Widseth is the prime, and they have subcontracted with HR Green. It's really just a switch in that prime to make Widseth a subconsultant. So we would be paying HR Green, and they would turn around and pay Widseth. And they're handling the liability and the risk for the project and the insurance requirements.
Okay, and that was my last question. By terminating the contract, the warranty of any sorts with Seth, is it's done, or is there usually a 2-year after the project is completed? I mean, what's the warranty with consulting like that?
This is just changing the contractual terms. So all the warranty would still be there. They would just be under HR Green's contract.
So that's why I'm asking, why are we terminating rather than just amending the contract?
Because right now our contract is with Widseth.
Got it.
We couldn't,
We just can't, all right, thank you.
we can't amend to go to HR Green.
Commissioner Jay?
And I don't know if you went over it, but the Widseth was in favor of doing this as well, right? I think I read that in there.
It's been a jointly mutual decision.
Pretty
from
much
all
just a
parties.
technicality,
Yeah.
really, yeah, okay.
Councilman Chezak?
Thank you. Reading through this agenda request, I thought it was very detailed, explained a lot. I think other than what Dolly asked her about why not amend it, and this is not a criticism, it's an observation. I think sometimes when we get the information in the packet, we essentially regurgitate everything on an agenda request at the meeting here, which I don't see as bad for the public. But it does seem to take a lot of time, which I'm not opposed to that. Maybe others are. I'm just making that a point of note that sometimes I guess if I'm sitting on this commission and can vote, I would have made a motion almost immediately before Mr. Sandy went on explaining the whole thing based on what I read here. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any further questions, comments? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to staff reports. City Administrator report. Mr. Boyles is not in attendance. We'll move on to Council Liaison report. Councilman Chezak.
Yeah, at the last special meeting of the city council last week, we met with the charter commission, and hopefully, we get the utility commission to have the utilities of storm sewer, water, sanitary sewer treatment, and electric under quote-unquote one roof. I don't know how many people had a chance to watch the meeting or attend it, but I think it's a little disappointing. I think the whole intent of having this go, the undergrounds go to the Charter Commission were spawned by the whole resolution we had, identifying the roles, I believe, of administration and who's in charge, that type of thing. The resolution passed, we wanted to codify it, and then it came up about utilities, so hopefully we can get this done. Again, you guys got a lot on your plate now. Add the sanitary sewer, add the storm sewer. I think you'll be just fine. I'm looking forward to that day. It can't come soon enough. One other thing is, I got a question for Mr. Sandy when he gets to his report. It's very simple. And then I also want to wish everybody a very happy Easter weekend coming up on Good Friday. And Easter, I know we think a lot about bunnies and eggs, and I just want to talk about, mention the whole point of our Savior has died and is risen, and that is why we celebrate Easter. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Chezog, any questions? Okay, we'll move on to HR Director Report. Brittany.
Nothing further than what's in the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I just have one.
Okay, yeah, Dolly.
In past practice, and I just, going forward, all of the reviews are nearing done. Department heads, are those just going to be covered by the city administrator? Commission is not part of department head? Okay,
Correct.
So we
Yep,
don't have
'cause-
to worry about that coming down the pipeline? Okay.
Correct. Yep,
Thank
because
you.
he reports to the city
Thank-
administrator. Thank you.
Can we provide input? Just voluntarily provide input? Okay.
Throughout the year, feel free.
Okay, thank you. All right, Public Utilities Director Report.
I have nothing further from what's in my report. I'll answer Commissioner or Council Liaison Chazok's question that he had.
Thank you. On one item here, East River Road trunk line. Rehabilitation project, you mentioned that. Is it technical, is it a interceptor line or a trunk line? I'd just like to know what we call that 27-inch.
They're synonymous. I mean, trunk line, interceptor, they're the same thing.
Needed to hear. Thank you. Appreciate it. Very much.
Okay, any other questions for Paul? It's just an indication of all the great work that's happening, so thank you for your detailed report, and so great job, Paul, thank you. Finance Manager Report?
I'll add that I'm just excited that we have a full commission, and I'll answer any questions. I have nothing in addition to what's in my report.
Ally?
I just have one question on the payment processing credit card transaction fee. Can you please elaborate what's going on with that? And again, I'm just for the record, as we have talked about this, I think we all do. The delay has cost us so much money, and I expect to be reimbursed. That's my expectation, or compensated somehow.
I giggle because it's been ongoing, as Commissioner Wusso was saying, it's been ongoing since April of 2024 at this point. We spoke with Attorney Langle last week as we related. We do not have any contractual language that allows us to get reimbursed. We spoke with Tyler. We have the card readers. We have everything in place. We just are waiting on them to set up a meeting now at this point to get it implemented. That implementation should take less than 3 hours. They will reinstall all of the card readers. We are still awaiting that date.
Yes, but they knew about this in October as well, is that they didn't have the necessary hardware for us.
Correct.
That was needed, and that's where my anger comes. They have cost us a lot of money. So, okay, and I just backtrack just one thing. Paul, awesome job on that pool engineering services. I forgot to mention that. That was a great idea, and it sounds like you got a lot of great feedback. So.
Yeah, it's taken a lot of time to score them. So the schedule's getting pushed back a little bit on that as Jesse and I try to muddle through 33 proposals at 20 pages apiece. So
Yeah,
it's a lot. But we'll get there.
No, I appreciate it. I don't mean to go back and forth, but can you go Danny, can you maybe explain a little bit more on the budget report, though? Just the wastewater treatment and the hydro dam portion of it, kind of break it down a little bit more in layman's terms so it's understandable, because, it's a little confusing to me with the hydro dam not having any revenue coming in yet, can you just kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
So how the hydro dam gets reported is it's actually rolled up in our reporting in the electric fund overall. So it's considered just I'll call it a department of the electric division. We do not have any specific revenue that we report in the hydro fund. What does show up is essentially a negative expense. It's the avoided cost that we're not paying for AEP. That's the other report where it shows the net benefit of hydro generation on the previous page. That is a negative expense that just reduces our overall expenses for the generation that is created.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Avoided cost in lieu of revenue. Got it. Thank you.
question. Any other questions for Danny? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to operations manager report.
Nothing to add to my written report, but I just want to make a comment to Danny's sentiment too. I'm happy that we have a full commission again, and what a great bunch of questions today. Keep them coming. We appreciate that from staff level, and the direction is imperative for us to continue to be successful. So thank you very much.
Any questions for Trent? I really liked your report and the statistics, graphs, all that kind of stuff, so thank you. That I say it all the time, but giving me pictures is a great way for me to understand what's going on. So color in pictures is awesome, so.
You're here.
Okay, Dolly.
One quick question.
Yeah.
You know, we look at projects like solar, you know, and then AEP was part of the airport and helped in the, at the BPU facility. We're looking at DC. Why have we never approached AEP? And maybe we have, maybe you've said it and it just went over my head, about the hydro dam and the generators there. Why wouldn't that be considered a partnership in updating some of those, considering it seems like the hydro dam is what produces the most revenue or the most energy for us from all of the projects?
That's a great question. So I have had conversations with AEP on their hydro side of the house. They don't have a huge portfolio of hydro facilities, but it's something I could definitely follow up on and have more conversations with. They're focused a lot on solar and wind, but they do have some hydro in the portfolio, and I could definitely work with their team. AEP's went through a little bit of a transition where they sold off a lot of the renewable portion, so AEP would not be who we'd be talking to. It'd be Energy Onsite Partners now, which was a pseudo subsidiary previously. We did the other solar projects with them, but I would be happy to reach out.
Well, I guess my thought process is if it isn't even with AEP, but the onsite instead, I just feel like we're all in a pinch. We all have a deadline of 2040, right? It becomes a need to find something that's renewable. And again, being a higher or highest performer, would seem like we've got a product that some people might want to jump on and maybe get in partnership with. So, but yeah, I would appreciate that. I mean, I don't want to consume your time, but it seems like it would be worthwhile to investigate a little bit more. Thank
Happy
you.
to follow up.
Could I comment on that, Chair? Dolly, that was one, I agree 1,000%. I think I've said it out loud before, but in our meeting with AEP, the virtual meeting the other day, that whole process was started. I asked some simple questions trying to get.
We agreed on something?
I know, it's amazing, my feet wet, but I just want to, I believe that we've got a lot of opportunity with that hydro energy and the amount of megawatts that we can produce for ourselves. So there'll be more to come. We've talked in finance a little bit about a generator, and you guys will be there'll be some more discussions on this very shortly.
Yes, Corey.
So I don't know where to add this, so I'm just adding it now, but is there any process or clarification we can look into to see what it would take to annex in land whenever it's projects like that solar project that are solely benefiting? I mean, we're paying for all the benefit of Lake Edward Township, or not Lake Edward, Oaklawn Township, and to me it seems like a ridiculous thing that we wouldn't go down the avenue of trying to annex in that land. But I know that that's a sore subject in this city in general, but I just, everybody wants the benefit of being a part of our city, but doesn't want to give us any of the benefit back, and I think it's ridiculous.
Amen.
It's a great question. So this board currently, the Public Utilities Commission, does not have the authority to buy property, but that'd be a city council action at that point. And what we have on the electric side, especially with the project you're talking to here, we have our established service territory limits provided to us by the state of Minnesota PUC, so that's why we are serving currently outside the corporate city boundaries of Brainerd. So if the city would annex in any portion of property as the municipality, this board then could absolutely serve the electricity if it was in a spot that we weren't currently serving. So I know that's a long answer to your question. That'd be city council action. Maybe Mr. Chezok can weigh in more on that potentially.
You're here, annexation.
It's common of other cities, right? Whenever they're working in projects like this and squaring off territories, and just Okay.
Yes, I would agree. Where this project is currently located, the family was here today, and that question was asked, and they indicated that they have no appetite to annex into.
We can force it though, correct?
You could, yes.
Eminent domain? No?
Yes, the city council would have actions. I'm not the appropriate person to speak to on that,
Okay.
but yes.
Just saying, but.
I'll bring it up at our next meeting.
I'll show up.
Jeff, we'll let you do that.
Anything else for Trent? Trent, anything else for us?
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you bet. All right, Charlie. Save the best for last. Isn't that what we always say?
That's what's always said. But I appreciate it. I have nothing more to add to the report other than happy Easter and thank you for all of the awesome questions and the input. Really gives us a good drive and foothold that what we do is important. So I appreciate your time.
Councilman Chesak, yes.
Charlie, when you put the cost of some of these items in there, you know, I don't need to get into detail, you know what I'm talking about. That's staff time cost, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And I point that out because that's essentially time that it's not something we're paying a bill on. That's what gets put out as far as paychecks. And I think it's very nice that you do that. I really appreciate your reports, and especially I'm remiss for not mentioning the other reports that I've read, like Director Sandy's and Trent's, and also Danny's are very good. Thank you very much. But thank you, Charlie. I appreciate what you've done. You've changed that up a bit. The graphs don't do me much good, but the written narrative is fantastic. So. It's okay. Hey, take what we can get.
All right. Yeah, Tally.
Quick things. Some things that I do like to watch, and I know, Charlie, you cringe when we're at 1.1 million gallons in storage. What is our plan B what is our max capacity, and what's our plan B if we can't start hauling out pretty soon?
Plan B is going to be begging other people as they beg us, and I can't accept anymore because of it. So it's a bad situation to be in. I know you had came down and seen the pilot back in 2021, and hopefully we can get some movement to maybe have some extra space in production of biosolids and a better plan going forward for these situations that we could find ourselves in very easily. So, yeah, I get a little bit nervous. There's a planned production that we get when we treat producing our micro biology. And so looking at, right now, we're just trying to get everything ready to go. So as soon as we can get out the door. But yeah, there is no plan, to be real frank with you, other than beg people, haul it to St. Cloud. Remember how many semis we do haul out, and the cost of that for them to accept it if they can would be my only out.
Something to watch, because I know that could become a very expensive item. And when Mr. Chesak talked about your cost, the back or the filter backwashes, you did 19 of them. Was it $2,700 each time?
Yeah, that would be the hours that it takes per backwash that we associate with it. The backwash is 100% manual, and we try to do it every day to keep the numbers down.
Sure.
And reduction up. So
That's all I had. Thank you very much. And again,
absolutely.
Going off that same sentiment, the reports that you all have produced have eliminated a lot of questions and definitely kept the commission updated much more thoroughly, and I think it goes without saying, it's very much appreciated. Thank you all.
All right, thanks, everybody. We'll move on to commission member reports. We'll start with you. Do you have anything to add today?
I do not.
And that's okay. Mike, how about you?
I guess I'd like to add, talking about Jeff's comments to Paul about reading his proposal. And I'd just like to back up Paul, that if you didn't read it, you'd have probably got asked 6 questions from Jeff. So I would just as soon you read it, and then he just gives us some side comments. So nice work.
You'll pay for that.
No, everything's going good. I'm really glad to see a full commission up here, and I like to see the progress. I like to see things streamlined, and I think the staff under Paul has been streamlining and been doing a great job, and I really appreciate Paul being here and everybody. So thanks. Happy Easter.
Thanks, Mike. Dolly?
The only thing I have was actually under unfinished business that I just wanted to make sure that this commission was made aware when followed up with the Roberts property purchase, and Mr. Chazak, maybe you can elaborate as well, but I don't know if you guys knew that the city council denied our request 3 times for going after potential grant funding or funding for the acquisition of that land, because the thought process is that they may want to develop that. I don't know that we would have pursued it had we not been pursuing it for the good of the water plant itself. So I'm really disappointed to hear this after the fact, that there was really no reason to purchase the Roberts property, in my mind, unless we have plans to do something with it. And so moving forward, I would just like to maybe propose that we have an understanding, or we start looking or devising at a game plan as far as what would be the purpose of our needs for that property. Hold on one second. And then what would be set aside for the city to be able to develop it. Then my question is this: if it does get developed with a developer, would those proceeds come back to BPU's financials for the acquisition of that property? So that's the only feedback I have, and I don't know if you have answers. I meant to cover it then, but we didn't really go over any other unfinished business, so.
So it is the potential siting for a new water plant. So the property was purchased for, the original intent was protection for the Duisma area. So essentially protection and not an ability to develop that area because it feeds essentially right into our well head protection. And then it's a siting for a new well location and a water plant. That is the intended.
That's the intended purpose. So we already have that portion of the property allocated to what we would cut out for our needs, our potential needs for the next 50 years.
That's what we're working on right now with Morgan, is looking at where the water treatment plant would go, what do we need to kind of cut out, and then start having that discussion. Okay, we have what we need for wellhead protection, all this stuff. What do we do with the rest of it? I think that's kind of the main purpose of the siting study.
Well, then my other part 2 of that is then once that's allocated as to what BPU gets to keep for the water, water portion of it, and then what could be developed, if it could be then marketed for development, would that money come back to BPU? Would be the question.
Accounting-wise, it'd be required to, so we can't
Okay.
use it for anything other than the intended purpose we purchased it for, which is wellhead protection and the siting of a water plant. So it's essentially protected because it's purchased with ratepayer dollars.
Right, but, okay, maybe it's not clear. So if our portion is cut out and allocated to what we would need, but the remainder is sold from the city, sold to a potential developer, that monies would come back?
It would be required to.
It'd be required to, okay, thank you. I just wanted it on record to know that I had that for future reference. Thank you. That's all I have. And yes, happy Easter. And long meeting, sorry.
Is it the intent to potentially replat that property then, once that's established?
As it's in the Duisma, I would say no.
Well, I mean, we're
What do you?
they're working on replatting it. I mean, we've gotten the boundary survey. At least it's going to start here in the next week or so, probably. Today. Today. So they'll start the boundary survey. So we'll have all the boundary information. We'll be able to replat that and chunk off what we need for the water plant.
Yeah, so we'll be able to see as a follow-up, I think, to Dolly's question, just some clarification there, but, so then it'll be identified in a legal description associated with the different parts, it's one big piece of property, but.
So the intent of the Duisma would be to keep it as one property without it being developed futurely for wellhead protection. That would be the plan as set in our wellhead protection plan.
Okay. All right. Okay, how about you? Your commission report.
Oh, I would just like to thank you guys for the light reading over the weekend. That was nice, so thank you. And happy Easter, I guess.
All right. I think that I'm very excited that we, again, it's been said already, but that we have a full commission. I think it's a really nice cross-section of our community too, which is very important. I think that evidence of that is the questions that were asked today. So thank you for everybody that asked questions. And when you have people up here that are not asking questions, you know, I wouldn't necessarily want that either. So thank you for everybody's efforts there. And it's really nice to see there's goals that are being set by staff. And boy, just to read through the packet and how much is being done is really impressive with all that you all have to do anyway. So hats off to all of you. Okay, that's all I have. I just about was ready to order lunch, but I think we're actually going to get out of here for lunchtime. Yes, to adjourn, yeah. So what we are going to adjourn to is the wastewater treatment facility tour scheduled for April 9th. Well, the water treatment plant facility tour scheduled for April 10th, and then the hydro facility tour scheduled for April 16th. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Good job, Mike.
Thanks, everybody.